Yeah, you volunteered. And so that stuff is available to you and everything else. Let's see, real quick, Miss Judy is going to play us a little bit of the common flavor of music down there. And this is Padre Nuestro, or Our Father. And it's kind of like the Lord's Prayer. It's Our Father who art in heaven. And it's a lot different than any Our Father you've ever heard here. Yay. See, real quick, Miss Judy, do you want to do Resuscito or this a little light? Let's do Resuscito. So, we're all familiar, or we should be, with the setting of the resurrection where it's, "O death, where is your victory? O grave, where is your sting?" You know, grave, the death has been defeated, and Jesus is victorious. And that's what this Resuscito is. It's basically that. So it's all in Spanish. All of our music actually was in Spanish, except for maybe 2 songs. And some of it that wasn't even in Spanish, some of the people wanted us to sing it in English. They wanted to hear English. Especially one instance where it was a English-speaking school that was full of foreign nationals or expats or missionaries' kids or teachers' kids from the States. And they were all still learning English as well as Spanish. And there were Asian students, and they were from everywhere. It was just a melting pot at that school. And so we had to swap back and forth between Spanish and English. And it was really interesting because the Spanish had become so much more easier to sing than English, if you can figure that. You find Resuscito. I told you, it's a lot of music. There we go. Resuscitó, resucitó, resucitó, aleluya. La muerte, ¿dónde está la muerte? ¿Dónde está la muerte? ¿Dónde es su victoria? Resucitó, 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 aleluya. Alegría, alegría, hermanos, que si hoy nos queremos, es porque Él resucitó, 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 aleluya. Sé con Él morimos, con Él vivimos, con Él cantamos, aleluya. Resucitó, 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 aleluya. Resucitó, 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 resucitó. Aleluya. So I'm going to ask real quick if when I sing, if you can go down, because these songs are so big. It's already down all the way? Okay. Because they're meant for 40 guys, so it's hard readjusting after singing with 40 guys older than you who have these big voices, and you feel so itty-bitty sometimes. Not all the time. So real quick, this morning I talked about this little light of mine, and I wanted to teach you real fast how to sing This Little Light of Mine in Spanish. Okay, and I told Anita this week at Methodist choir rehearsal that it has her name in it, and it's me. So say me. Pekka. Nita. Lutz. So me. Pekka Nita. Lutz. Me Pekka Nita Lutz. Now here's the hard part. La. Deha. Re. Re. Okay, bri, yar, right? It's la, deha, re, bri, yar. I know, that's the hard part. La, just say la, deha, re, bri, yar. Right, la, deha, re, bri, yar. Okay, so let's try it. And when you feel comfortable, you can sing along. All right, Miss Judy. Ni pecanita lutz, la deha re brillar. Mi pecanita lutz, la deha re brillar. Mi pecanita lutz, la deha re brillar. Brillará, brillará, brillará. I roll my R's really well, I'm sorry. It took me years to perfect. Mi pecanita lutz, I'm serious. La deja re brillar. Mi pecanita lutz, la deja re brillar. So me is mine. Mi pecanita lutz, la deja re brillar. Brillará, brillará, brillará. Oh, that was good. Thank you, thank you. And I won't make you feel any worse than that, I promise. That's all the hard work I'm going to make y'all go through tonight. So, real quick, I have a little slideshow, and this is just a fraction of the pictures that we all took. And I've been getting pictures from other guys around the state all week, and even from out of the country, to come up with just a little taste of what it was God showed us last week. It was just amazing, and I'll try to narrate as best I can. And there's a little video in here too. To start off, Cliff Case, who's from Arkansas originally, was our contact there and our coordinator through IMB. And that's the International Mission Board. And he coordinates all the missionaries in that part of the world. And he's real busy. He's a musician. He's an athlete. His wife is a super athlete, a triathlon, all that He-Man stuff. She is really, really intense from what I've been told. Like, she gets up at 4 a.m. and, does more stuff than most people do all week before, at 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. Cliff, on the other hand, is a night owl. But you have to be to live in Chile. They stay up really late, and everything stays open late. It was like, has anyone ever been to New York before? Or New York City? Okay, Miss Pat is the only one who's been to New York. So, that city never sleeps, right? Chile or Santiago never slept. And the restaurants were open till almost all night. And I understand why Cliff, because he has such a huge territory and the way the society is, how they take a break in the middle of the day from 2 to 4, things just stay open later. So Cliff is going to real quick say hello to you, and I am sorry about his pronunciation of Utica. I sent him all sorts of messages and emails this week trying to talk to him about that, and I got to tell him that I got this video because he was worried I didn't get it. But let's see. This is Cliff.
Hey, Jason, and the Utica Baptist Church in Mississippi. Good to see you. My name is Cliff Case. My wife is Cynthia. She's not here at the game today. But I just want to say hi and let you know that we're thinking about you. We appreciate you letting Jason come down and visit with us this last week and work. Right now I'm showing you a little bit of the work I do in Chile. And it has to do with doing sports. Some of the stuff I do does with music. This one right here is doing with sports. We're getting a group of Christians together, and we are seating people. We're volunteers in the stadium. We're seating people for the game, and during halftime we give out pamphlets about Jesus Christ. This is my team here in my background with the red hats. It says a pure heart and a pure life, and it's talking about Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23. These kids are sharing the gospel in a big event. So that's what we're trying to do. So I work in these kind of events. That's what I do as a part of my time as a missionary here in Chile. Hope you guys enjoy your Sunday. May God bless, and take care. The game is about to start. We finished up our work. Now all the people are here are going to cheer. Y'all can cheer for Chile too, okay? We'll see ya.
So, Cliff is a real animated guy. We were warned that he was very exuberant, very chatty, but he has to be because he is constantly translating and then saying it back to us, and he speaks so fast. And I wanted to call him Coach all week. Coach. And he's called Coach. Profe is coach. He gets called that all the time. He does a lot of sports evangelism, and that's where he brings in a small group of people who are good at baseball or basketball. They love basketball over there. Love it. And soccer for us, football for them. And just by showing kids how to get better, adults see it, and next thing you know, all their dads come, and then their granddads come, and before you know it, they've got 50 guys out there all wanting to get in on better technique. And while they're teaching them how to swing better or kick better or run faster, he gets to slip in a little bit of Jesus. And it's real neat to see that happen. And that's a lot of what Cliff does. He's also a musician as well. Go figure. He's multi-talented. He has to be, I guess. Works with a lot of music ministry, coordinating stuff like that. And he was very essential in helping us with our tour. Let's see, can you see when I stand up right here, or are you not able to see? Okay, then I will sit then and try to talk a little bit. That's okay. That's the first thing I saw when it finally got bright enough. We were above the ceiling. That's the top of the clouds. That's our first sign of the Andes. They really like that terrace farming. Isn't it terrace, right? Farming. And this went on for hundreds and hundreds of miles. And that's the first time I've ever seen the Andes. And that was it that morning. And I was glued to them. We got closer, but I didn't get any pictures because I was too busy looking. That was our bus. To me, it looked like a bull. I called it El Toro, the bull. It had lots of headroom. It was very tall. It was so tall. It was much taller than our normal tour buses. That's Jerry Nance. Poor Jerry. And that's me at the back of the bus. At the back of the bus, you had the most leg room and headroom, and you could recline for days. But our bus, had a wonderful view. Everywhere you went, the Andes were ever present. They never left you, not for a minute, unless you went to the coast, but there were still mountains there. There was just mountains. Mountains abounded. God's majesty was everywhere. We were there during their national recognition month, September, and there were flags everywhere, lots of patriotism going on. We got to see so much wonderful Chilean patriotism. That's the tallest building in South America. It's like 111, 115 stories tall. Graffiti. We've quickly realized we were in a very urban area. Layers and layers of graffiti and all sorts of movement. People never stopped. It was a beautiful and busy city. And some of the graffiti was very pretty. I wish I could have gotten more pictures of the graffiti. I'd like to go back and just look at graffiti. Actually, it's kind of strange. The buildings were just as colorful and as beautiful, and you would have these strange juxtapositions of old architecture next to the new and shining, bright, towering skyscrapers, and with the Andes always behind them, never leaving. It was just an amalgam of beauty and God working, putting man in the middle of his paradise. This is the UBACH, which is the Baptist building for Santiago. If you know where that is, the convention, that's First Baptist Santiago, Templo Evangelico Bautista. That is a capital of another city. I cannot remember the name of that city. I tried to say it so many times. It was a tongue twister, even for me. That was Los Andes outside. That's where the hat came from that I gave to Brother Rocky. We all had to have hats. That's Santiago's First Baptist Music School. We went and did classes and taught music things and voice, guitar. That's Julian. He was one of our main guys. And I'll have more stuff with Julian going on throughout the year. That's the Capitol building of Los Andes. And those were like mayors and they have super mayors. Mayors report to them. Governor, that's the apartment complex I talked about today. 700 families. There's so much. I'm going to try to get through it. And there I am. I'm the only person that recognized I was getting a picture taken. And then we started to leave the city. There are vineyards everywhere. There are grape vineyards. There are olive vineyards, everything. And it gets really similar to around here. Some of the same sites you would see. Tin roofs. As you can see, lots of communities, what they call comunas. They just spring up on the side of mountains everywhere. This is Valparaiso, okay? And there are 42 hills that make up Valparaiso. And there's a great ministry that I can tell you later at a different time about the 42 hills. This was an area that was affected by a wildfire. And because there's such awful winds there, it picked up a little piece of fire. And before you knew it, there were torrents and tornadoes and waves of fire. And it completely destroyed everything. That's the road we were on. It was actually a really good dirt road. It looks like kind of like Yazoo clay. That's this part of Valparaiso. This is where people live for free because the mountain is just free for you to live on. And these people were completely devastated, wiped out. This was the only place they had available for us to sing, and it was a basketball court. As you can see, it was just made up shacks and things, lots of water tanks that the Baptist Convention there in Chile had provided for them. That's Kinsey and Alan. They did not know I was taking their picture, and it's the funniest picture I got all week. And this is our little concert there. There were roosters to our right and dogs all around us. You couldn't see the dogs, but every time we'd stop singing, all the roosters would just go crazy. This little guy in the middle walked up to me, put his feet on me, and made me tie his shoes. No one there would tie his shoes. He was asking everybody to. And there's us singing. This house behind us, we actually went in there for what's called unce, which is tea. And we had pimento cheese and all sorts of stuff that we eat here. They had it right there. That's Steve Stroll. After each concert, we got to go down and pray with people about what was going on in their lives. And a lot of it was really powerful. I can tell you a lot more. There were so many people that I got to meet and pray with and minister to and just talk about day-to-day things that all of us go through. This is also Valparaiso. That's the first time I've ever seen the Pacific Ocean. I was like, it couldn't have been even better than getting to be there, doing what we were doing, and seeing the Pacific Ocean. Those are hills. You see the hills in the background. This is all Valparaiso. As you can see, it's so densely populated. Each hill has somewhere between 40 and 100,000 people. It's just, there's probably 1.5 million people in Valparaiso. It's just amazing how many people live on those hilltops. And there are no churches there. And that's what 42 Hills Ministry is about. It's about putting a church on each hill.
It's basically the rooster and the hen.
This is the Cueca.
They present
the
themselves,
Cueca is
and
the
then they will try
national
to go around
Chilean
the rooster
dance,
and, the hen
and it's a
trying to go,
cowboy
hey,
dance.
Like you like me, type of thing.
And he was just telling what it was about between the two animals. They never really got started dancing. It took them a while. But they were really cute, so I left a video in. That's Slater to the right, and Dr. John McNair, who was a missionary in that part of the world for 15 years, and he was a brain surgeon. He taught brain surgery in Spanish and was a musician. These guys were really good. It's the Cueca. It's the rooster and the hen. Then they grabbed some of our people and threw us out there. Didn't throw me, but that's Marcia, that's Slater's wife, Alan Harris, and Ed Brazier, who's the assistant minister of music at First Baptist Jackson. Ed was having a good time. Alan was about worn out. Yeah, that's Marcia, Slater's wife. But that's one of the hats I have right here. This is the Wasso hat. The band was really, really good. And the little lady who was singing came up and flirted with all of us, just so she could. Then we got on the road and we headed to a different part of the town. We head home, and it was so pretty. I wish I had a picture of Valparaiso at night. It looked like rolling seas of lights. It was so pretty. So we headed to a different part of town, and as you can see, there's a lot more graffiti. It's where I got a lot of my graffiti pictures. It was a lot more harsher environment. You could tell very urban, very street and foot worn, lots of street traffic. And we ended up at the prison. And this prison, I would call it Maria something, but they told me that wasn't the name. It was just the name on the side of the name that I called it was really the name of the Justice Department. That's the only name I ever saw, because they kept us so tight and in a corridor. Like we never really saw the big part of the prison. We just had one specific place where we went. I will say this: we went through a really, really long process of them, searching us and going through our passports and everything. And all of a sudden, the group was gone, because they took us in little groups of 5 or 6 through the interior of the prison. And I remember asking our translator, are we going to get to use the bathroom? And he was like, oh yeah, you get to use the bathroom. And before I knew it, I was being led by one prisoner through the interior of this prison, just with one prisoner. But I was completely safe. And I went through some very dark corridors and tunnels. And when I got out here, I thought, oh, there's another church here, or there's another choir here, because everyone was dressed so nice. But these guys find suits, and they find clothing, and they get it sent into them, and they wanted us to dress just like they dressed, because when they go to worship, they dress for worship. And I'm trying to pause it so you can see all the jackets and blazers and ties. And I didn't realize that they were prisoners at first. And I was like, well, where are the prisoners? And they were like, those are the prisoners. I was like, oh, all 500 of them are prisoners? And we were in a courtyard, about 600 people in the courtyard. Most of them were prisoners. I don't really know what they were there for. But they were all in jackets and ties and coats. And they looked so nice. They looked just like us. And we proceeded to do our concert, and the response, I've never seen people worship like these prisoners worshiped. It was so, I would call it charismatic. I thought I was at a Pentecostal worship service. I was like, these are very charismatic people. When I say charismatic, it's the style of worship, and I thought they were another denomination. And then after it was over, they're like, no, these are Baptists. And I was like, oh, really? Because there was dancing at times. They were in it. This was the best part of their week. This was the best part of their day. Please look up, teenagers. Okay? This is the best part of their day, to get to come out and worship God. Right? I got to see inside their cells. A lot of these people, you know how prisoners communicate with hand signals and other things. No phones. Hand signals. Meaning a nonverbal communication. Like, okay. 3. Dog. Okay. Kind of like a sign language. And I saw lots of hand signals and things being thrown back and forth. But they didn't have the best surrounding. But these believers, these Christian prisoners, their cells were clean. It was safe when we were with them. We were shoulder to shoulder, just like some of you are sitting shoulder to shoulder right now. And at one point, after the concert, they invited them to come down. This was their invitation. They all came down. They all fell on their faces. And then they invited us to come and pray with them. And before I knew it, we were commingled with them. And I looked over, and I couldn't tell who was a prisoner and who was one of us. There was no difference between any of us. We all looked the same. We all prayed the same. We all worshiped the same. Some of us a little louder than others. But God was there in that prison. And we were there witnessing such love and compassion. To me, this was the most amazing moment of that entire trip, was to be able to worship with these 500 inmates who didn't even have rights as people anymore. Because when you commit a crime and you get sent to prison here in this part of the world, you lose your rights. You have to earn them back. And this was when we got to go into their cell. And as you can see, there's a table set before us. There are benches for us to sit on. The floor is clean. The beds are clean. They even told us there are no bed bugs, which was a relief. They said you could go to the bathroom and be safe. We got to go to the bathroom there, and we were safe. We never felt threatened. No, there were no guards. There were no guards. There was a gentleman here who is over the ministry, who's got his hand up, and then there are prisoners. All the guards were still in the courtyard, drinking water, hanging out, watching them clean up benches and stuff. We were just up here. And this table, this is where they eat every meal. This is where they sit and talk to each other. This is their table, and they set it for us. They prepared a table for us. And this is their food. This is not food the prison provided. They said, no, this is theirs. This is their rations. They made this meal just for you. And they made us ham sandwiches and pimento cheese sandwiches. They love pimento cheese. And Spam sandwiches, which I thought was really good. And I ate every bit that they gave me because they did that. And it was a sacrifice for them to give what little they had just to me. And I'm sure I didn't look like I needed any more food from their perspective. But they essentially washed our feet. They prepared a table for us. They kept us safe. They made a nice environment for us. And then they served us. A whole bunch of gringos. They served us. And there's a picture of a gentleman here. They call him Captain America. And he is in charge of that group of guys in that room. That's his little sanctuary, and he runs it. This again is Los Andes. We're all having to wear our hats because we can't take the South American sun. Even though it was 70 degrees, the sun felt like 90. This is a museum, an art museum we were in, and there were a lot of atheists there who did not like what we said and what we sung about. And they shook their heads a lot. And this is how dark it was. Earlier I had pictures of the daylight, but just show you, that was at the very beginning of the concert. So it got darker and darker. And you can see a little light there being shown on David's music. That's it's David. And that's at the end of Me Pecanita Lutz, this little light of mine. Now in a little bit there's going to be a video, and it's of us singing at the 75th anniversary of the seminary, the Baptist seminary in Chile. It's been there for 75 years. It was founded by Southern Baptists, or by Baptists from the Bible Belt, from where we're from. The gentleman who was in charge of the seminary, the rector or the director of it, he himself was an American. So we had a huge impact on them a long time ago, and it's still prospering and bearing fruit. And this is just a little bit of the singing we did at the 75th anniversary, which started an hour late and went about an hour and a half. No, it started an hour late and it went about an hour and a half late. And so you can imagine, it was a big to-do. They were so happy to have us. A gentleman stood up to preach because they had elected him, or he got voted to be the speaker for the evening. And I didn't understand a word he said. I caught the beginning of it, which said, I didn't fly 2,000 miles. He flew 2,000 miles to preach for 15 minutes. So an hour and a half later, he stopped preaching. And you can imagine an hour and a half of not understanding anything except for and where and how and I won't or please or heart or save or soul. I could only hear bits and pieces, But he was a powerful speaker, and they really responded to him. But it was a long night, and this is a video of us singing at the 75th anniversary of the Baptist Seminary in Santiago, which is really the Baptist Seminary for all of Chile and other countries too. Not just Chile, but there are other countries that use this seminary as their place where they send their young pastors. This next song is called Jesus Saves. Some of you might recognize it. It's got a lot of drum. You're going to hear me tinkering with my ocarina. I was trying to figure out how to play a scale on it. And this was at the Capitol. We got to see the changing of the guard. If you'd like to see videos of the changing of the guard, I will send you videos of it. It's basically a lot of pomp and ceremony and marching and horses, and they have a band. It's real nice. But if you'll notice, the flag is real similar to the Texas flag. There's like 3 or 4 other places that have the same flag. And like I said, they were very patriotic. This flag was probably the length of this room, if not longer. It was a huge. And then there was our bus, and very shortly after that, we were on the road back home. I'm going to miss those mountains. Let's see. So, there is more than I have time to talk about. I could go on and on. I will say this. Some of my favorite parts were after the concert. Because once they had sat down and they had let their guards down and they had a good time at a concert, they let a little bit of the gospel in. And they heard and understand. We were told several times, many times, that our Spanish was very good. that they kept asking us, where did we study? And I wanted to tell them, Brandon, Mississippi. That was our last rehearsal, and other places like that. And I told them, really, my Spanish came from Chile, came from them, because it's how they talk, it's how we wanted to talk. They called the language, Spanish is the language of the angels, and that's because it has pure vowels. There's no all right, there's no compound vowels, none of that kind of stuff, no diphthongs, if you know what a diphthong is, none of that. But the best part was after a concert, and we got to go down, and people would just come out of their seats. Even people who sat there with their arms crossed, very skeptical about this whole thing of gringos singing about Jesus to them. You could tell some of these people, they thought they were the stuff. And before long, their arms would drop. They would be on their feet. And then as soon as you got to the floor, they'd be ready to hug you. And they'd want to find out, where are you from? How long have you been doing this? And I would tell them, I'm from a teeny tiny town with about 900 people in it. And they're like, what? That's not a town? And they'd want to know, how long have you been singing with these people and blah, and why do you do the things you do? And then I'd get to share with them my life that all of you are involved with. And I got to tell them that I am who I am because God put people in my path that I bumped up against and I ground them to, and I sharpened my teeth, and I learned my basic principles of faith from, and I learned about the basics of the gospel. And they planted a little seed in me, and they started a fire. And that I was there to share that with them and do the same. So I got to have great conversations. I talked to Jorge and Ingrid. That's George and Ingrid. And at the last concert. And I had such I wish I had that all recorded. I had the greatest conversation with them. And it started off real simple. We really like how you sing. It was very nice. And by that time, I was hoarse. I didn't have really the ability to speak, let alone sing, but somehow God helped me sing. And I know I felt prayers, I felt love from home, all of that spurring me on, all of that pointing me to do God's work, which was to share His word, to share His gospel, and to tell others about Jesus Christ. And I got to do that just then and there. And it started off simple as, I'm from Utica. And then it was, well, what's that? And I told them, that's tiny. That became old hat. I got over, that's tiny. After about the 18th time I had that discussion. And then they wanted to ask me, well, why do you do what you do? And I said, well, it's like this. God gives us blessings. They come from heaven, and it's our job to give those blessings back to people like you and to bless others Because if we don't do that, that's wrong. And so I have a little gift that I can't sing pop. I can't sing like people on the radio, you know. I can't sing like country singers. I can't sing like, you know, rock stars. I can't do that. But somehow I fit singing for God. And that's where I belong. And because I get to use that gift that he gave me, I get to show you a little bit of Jesus. I get to show you a crack in the door. And through this crack in the door, boundless of blessings, things I can't even describe, flow through endlessly. And I get to show you a little bit of the next life. And they were so moved that we prayed. They let me pray with them. These were not believers. These were just people on the street. These are people that were on their way home. They had groceries, you know. It was a long day at work. They had a short siesta, meaning a nap, during 2 to 4. And they were on their way, and they got stopped. And I was sitting there talking with them, and I had this wonderful translator. I wish I remembered her name. Come over and help me. God bless every translator that worked with us and that figured out how to say y'all. And that was just one of the many words they had troubles with. Another word, accountability. That's a really tough word for them because they don't have a word in their language to describe accountability. It takes 5 minutes. And accountability should be like that. It should take longer. I wish we didn't, we couldn't just say, be accountable. We had to go da-da-da-da-da-da, person to person, like they do. But God bless those translators. And we were able to have a simple little prayer. And shortly after that, this evangelist who was trying to start a church from his own business, there wasn't a church in that area where about 60, 70, 80,000 people live. No church. There might be a Catholic church, but no evangelism. There's no one there saying, come. There's just people there saying, stay. We're good enough. And this guy was there saying, come. And he had a little business, an upholstery business, a carpet business, something really like that. And out of his little business in the back room, he had a little group of 6 or 8 people. And they were there to share the Word of God. And I got to let him come over, and he gave them a little Mi Pequeña Bible, Bible. They had little things similar to this. It's a tiny little Bible. They had something like that, and they'd give it to him, and they'd read it and go, oh, gracias, 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 and I'd go, de nada, thank you, you're welcome. And it was great. I hugged them, and I went on my way. And I don't know if that's going to come to fruition, but that's what we were sent there for. We were sent there for possibilities. We were planting seeds, and if it fell on good soil, it fell on good soil. If it fell on the rough path, it fell on the rough path, but at least there was a seed put on that rough path to even begin with, because there was none there before us. So I want to thank you for the opportunity and the privilege to go before you as a representative and an envoy of Jesus Christ in the name of God the Father and his few people here in Utica. So thank you. And if you want to come down and see my little trinkets, you're very welcome to it. I got some pretty copper. Copper is the national export, of Chile. They're the world's largest producer of copper. Beautiful copper there. So I had a lot of stuff to talk to about people since I work with copper. I even got to meet a vice president of the big copper company who was the vice president of the convention there, who is now the vice president of the International Baptist Convention, whose name also was George. So I met a lot of Georges, which was funny because I always had an immediate icebreaker. My dad's name is George. Yeah, I could do that. So I want to thank you so much. Are there any questions? I saw a hand raised. Probably 72, 73, 74, maybe a little bit older. I don't know how old Randy Ainsworth was, but he might have been the oldest gentleman there, or it could have been Dr. John or Dr. Juan McNair. He probably was the oldest. And I don't want to say his age. He was probably in his 70s. I mean, he's been at this for a long time. Is it time for Awana kids to go? Okay, this last song. So, I'm going to close. Is there any more questions before I do this last song? It's in English, so you're welcome. But this is their favorite song. They made us do encores of this, and they love to hear our Southern gospel music. It was so, there were choirs there. We met tons of people. They're like, oh, we have a Southern gospel choir. Could you imagine? And they're like, we need Southern gospel music. So we got all sorts of emails exchanged, and we're sending them music. And they're just so hungry. They're just so hungry. And I have so much more to talk about how the convention down there wants to partner with small churches, big churches, little churches, groups of 4, 3, Sunday school teachers of 50 years, because they want people who can teach basic discipleship, right? They want people who can teach Sunday school. They want people who can teach you how to, do a lesson, who can keep kids quiet, who can teach hymns. They just need basic leadership. They don't want us to come down there and build giant things for them. They want people. They just want leadership. They want you to lead them. So that's really awesome. Any more questions? Anybody else? Yes. Yes, you can look at the stuff. Okay. You can't keep it though. Well, don't take my little money. Because that was really hard to get. They didn't want to give me change a lot of the time. They liked their change. That was the hardest thing to get, was a peso. A single peso. Anybody else? You can ask me after this. Any adults with questions? Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. And you're going to recognize this song. This is Hallelujah, By and By. And it's got a lot of favorites in them. And if you know it, please sing along. Miss Judy's going to sing along. I should have gotten her a mic, but oops. Oh, they tell me. Oh, they tell me. Oh, they tell me of a home far away. Oh, they tell me of a home far beyond the skies. Oh, they tell me of a home far away. Oh, they tell me of a home where no storms, clouds rise. Oh, they tell me of an unclouded day. Oh, the land of cloudless day. Oh, the land of an unclouded day. Oh, they tell me of a home where no storms, clouds rise. Oh, they tell me of an unclouded day. I remember when I was a lad, times were hard and things were bad, but there's a silver lining behind every cloud. Just poor people, that's all we were, trying to make a living out of black and dirt. We get together in a family circle singing loud. Mama sang tenor, me and little brother would join right in there. Singing seems to help a troubled soul. One of these days, and it won't be long, I'm gonna join them in a song. We'll get together in a family circle singing loud. Know the circle. Know the circle. You can sing too. Won't be broken. By and by, Lord. By and by. Daddy sang. Mama sang tenor, me and little brother would join right in there. In the sky, Lord, in the sky. Some glad morning when this life is o'er, I'll fly away to a home on God's celestial shore. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. Oh, I'll fly away. When I die, hallelujah, by and by, I'll I'll fly away. By and by, when the morning comes, when the saints of God are gathered home, we will tell the story, how we've overcome. We will understand it better by and by. By and by, and by and by, when the morning comes, when the saints of God are gathered home, tell the story, how we've overcome. We will understand it better by and by. We will understand it better by and by. I'll fly away by and by. Woo! And then we had to sing it all over again. If you can imagine, I did this more than once. Whew. So thank you so much for coming. Real quick, I would just like to pray. I hope we have enough time. Ooh, got 4 minutes. Good. Let's do it quick. I want to pray. I want to pray for the people of Chile. I want to pray for all the seeds that we planted and all of God's good work that He did through us, with us, before us, and stuff we can't even see. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the blessings you give us. Thank you for the ability to be able to pass those blessings on to small children, to teenagers, to young adults, to middle-aged, older, and beyond. Thank you so much for the ripples that we cause and how they'll cause more ripples and how we can affect people we didn't even know yesterday and we won't even know 10 years from now, but you're doing work right here in Utica that will show up in their lives in the future. Thank you for all the work you're doing in the hearts of the people of Chile. Thank you for all the work you do in the hearts of the people of Utica. Thank you for everything you're doing in our lives and people we don't even see or know yet. Please continue to do good work. Please continue to work through us. Please continue to lead us, to show us the way, even if we fall or we fail, and to make us more whole and to make us more like Jesus. Please continue to help us show our love to others, if it be in Africa, if it be in Chile, if it be next door, if it just be in Raymond, down the street, person sitting to our left or to our right. Just be with us, keep us safe, and let us do your work, the work of the kingdom here. In your Son's most holy, precious name, Jesus Christ. Amen. Be very careful. You learn how to say you all, y'all. We taught a lot of people how to say y'all. It was really interesting. That's called My Little Bible. It's My Little Bible. So it says 1,000. That's just $2. That's a $2 bill.
I was about to say,
I have no idea who that is.
what is this?
Now, that's an ocarina.
Why